So when it comes to that, because that's also a conversation I see a lot right now, is authenticity and how do you find your authenticity? And people are searching for people to tell them who to be, which is like counterproductive. What was your journey to finding your authenticity?
What is my authenticity?
I mean, like there's dirt. You just picked up dung. You have gardens growing. You have this great vision for this property. I think it takes a certain type of person to be able to leave something that is as comfortable, shiny, and rewarding as Hollywood to do this. And it's not saying that like, oh, you're better than everyone that stayed, but it's saying that like you had a voice that was telling you that wasn't you and this is you. And you made what I'm guessing is a very scary leap to have a very different circumstance.
I mean, it was really a 2+ year journey of shedding a lot of the ego identity, a lot of the vanity, a lot of the indulgences. I mean, I literally designed my life so throughout a day, I would have little dopamine hits. You know, if it wasn't like going to a fancy brunch and having like a nice, eggs Benedict, ooh, exciting. And then you go after brunch and you meet a friend and you chat and you talk and you like catch up and that's fun. And then next thing you know, you're having cocktails and then, then it's a dinner, a fancy dinner with like amazing people and everybody's, somebody. And then next thing you know, there's a party. So it was literally just constant indulgence. And I had to get clean again, as I said, and let go of that and come back down to earth and start to rebuild a new life. And I guess I still don't feel like a farmer. I'm in pursuit of being able to grow food and work with the land, work in harmony with nature, to steward this land. But I'm an apprentice. I mean, I'm still learning. And I think that so I think I've come to something. If you want to find your authenticity, you first have to get low to the ground and humble yourself and accept that you don't know. And that's okay. And then you start to awaken a curiosity. Because if you don't know, if you're not so sure of yourself, then you can be curious about what is possible and then that curiosity will lead you to discover who you are.
Right, because if you only have certainty or what you think is certainty, then you're actually closing yourself off to any kind of serendipity or possibility.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
I totally agree. And I think if you have enough quiet time, which like what you were describing, it's like you weren't having those moments of just silence and just yourself. You're constantly surrounding yourself with things and people and events. It's like I think your body almost will tell you, like your soul will tell you if you're actually happy or versus like you're happy it's just by your circumstance, right? Like I'm only happy because everything is going great right now and like this character is serving me right now versus like I can be quiet with nature and I'm happy just being.
I used to see out in the world the universe trying to give me little signs or warnings.
Always. I think that too.
That I would ignore, totally. I know better. Right. I just wasn't in touch enough to really see that the universe is always speaking to you. So I wasn't hearing it because I was asleep essentially, but like I would see versions of my older self out there on private planes and like silver foxes, like way too old to be with way too young girls. And I'm like, and in retrospect, it's like, oh, that was me. That was a reflection of me. It was like in a 2001 Space Odyssey, the final psychedelic sequence where he travels through a wormhole and then he ends up, time is split asunder and then he sees himself as an older man and then he sees himself as a baby and he's all timelines are co-mixed, like Matrix type shit where you're like, oh, if you allow yourself to be intuitive and connected to what is being told, it's karma. It's a direct call response. It's feedback, immediate feedback. It's there. Like I saw myself and I was like, it's like, you're on the wrong path.
Mm-hmm.
You're going the wrong way.
Yep.
And I just didn't know. I didn't know how to read that at the time. And you know, it's a skill I think that you have to cultivate.
Mm-hmm.
Awareness.
Yeah.
Mindfulness.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. And I think it's, for me, my opinion is like when you start making all of, we'll say wrong, and I know like, you know, it's a lot more complicated than wrong, right and wrong, but when you start like making wrong decisions or heading a little bit too astray, I think like those hints get louder and louder and louder, and that's how you end up with this life or person that you don't recognize or that's very unfavorable, and it just keeps magnifying, because I think like God or the universe or whatever you want to call it wants you to live like the best, most fulfilled version of this existence. So it'll make it as painful as possible to make you break, to get you back on course.
Well, again, like you said, it's a judgment to say wrong or right. It's just a path. And if you're aware of it, go ahead, choose it. But are you choosing it? Or are you just, you know, passively, you know, going with it? Are you in charge of your life? Are you sovereign? Are you making those choices? So it's, you know, go ahead and go on any path you want as long as you're actually in charge of that decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know?
Like consciously making
Right.
the decisions in your life instead of kind of drifting
Because I would
throughout.
argue if you had a choice between living a rich, deep, fulfilled life in nature with community and family and your loved ones versus, you know, indulgence and, you know, fleeting, you know, superficial exchanges, and, you know, you're going to make, I mean, that's just another judgment, but I would say
Mm-hmm.
I'm so happy I'm making the choices I'm making now.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's Tom Bilyeu says this all the time, and he's like, if you think that money and fame will make you happy, then why do so many like famous people and billionaires still kill themselves? Like, that's not the solution at all, right? It's just like this really pretty Band-Aid, but it's not going to fulfill you. It's not going to give you that sense of community or fulfillment or purpose.